Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another podcast. I am really excited about today's guest because it is Sarah from Sarah Coe Design. Her office is located right in the heart of downtown Glen Ellyn.
Yes.
She's been in business for over 19 years and has built a very successful interior design firm. She specializes in high-end residential, custom homes, and she is the sweetest person ever.
Thank you.
So thank you, Sarah, for being on our podcast. We actually met last month just to kind of connect, and I know she kind of told me her story, but today we're going to share Sarah's story and kind of ask her some questions about how it is starting an interior design firm because it can be challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Sarah, so tell us your little story and how you got started in interior design.
Yeah, so it's love being creative, right? Always have. And I kind of grew up before the HGTV thing was a thing in a small central town in Illinois, and I didn't even know interior design was a career. I just knew that there were artists and art teachers, so I actually went to college to be an art teacher. Mm-hmm. And kind of quickly within that time period, my mom lovingly said, I don't really see you as a teacher. Maybe you should look into other fields with your art degree. And so she encouraged me to look into business. I always had this business savvy side of myself. I was always trying to sell things at a very young age. Yeah. So I ended up getting a minor in marketing as well as the art degree. Graduated with an art degree, still not knowing what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So actually kind of late in life, or later in the college, realized I needed to figure this thing out. So I spent some time job shadowing, just a single day with different elements of the art career, and stumbled across an interior designer. And I was like, oh, you could get paid to do this?
I know. Right?
I thought it was the awesomest thing in the world. I was like, I've been rearranging things my whole life, So ended up going to work for this woman who let me do this internship right out of college. She paid me pennies. She was an interior designer in Indianapolis at the time and owned her own shop as well, high-end accessories, and she taught me a lot. She was phenomenal. But she also made me start my own business from scratch. So I was this 22-year-old, 23-year-old and said, I'm not going to, pay you what you need to get paid. So you need to start your own business. So from a very young age, it helped me kind of branch out, push me out of the nest and started my business early on.
So you started it at the age of 22?
23, yeah.
23. Oh
yeah.
My God.
12, 22, yeah,
okay,
just right in there.
That is
so,
amazing.
Yeah.
Such a young entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
What were the main problems you faced when you first started your business?
Yeah, like anything, I realized there were things that I was really good at, and then there were things that I was not good at all. And I actually got married pretty quickly after college, and my husband said, I'm totally fine with you doing this interior design thing, but this is not a hobby. You have to make money at it. And so from the get-go, I realized the money side was going to be a challenge for me. And so I ended up hiring a bookkeeper. Even though I was making pennies, I hired a bookkeeper because I was crying about figuring out the tax stuff and filing receipts and all that. It was not my skill set, and it was worth it for me to be creative and do the fun things while hiring somebody to do the things that kept me legal and made sure that I...
Do they kind of tell you hey, we're doing really good, I suggest we do this? Did they give you a little bit of tips?
That's probably more of a financial planner. They were more or less over the years, I've had people kind of speak into different things that I was doing because as a really, really young business owner, you're usually hiring people who are much older than you. Yeah. And so there was a lot of life skills happening or just direction. But, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So given you were just kind of talking about the main problems, how was business the first few years? Did you find it goes a little rocky, busy?
A really good question. So the way that I was set up originally was it was myself who was the youngest in this shop, and then there were a few other interior designers who were older than me. Yeah. And so I was kind of the low end of the totem pole. I kind of got the ugly client projects.
Okay.
I charged the least amount, so
Yeah.
I got, I definitely got a business through working through that store.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you have to remember this is 20 years ago. This was pre really the use of the internet for things. It was a lot of walk-in clients.
Like they would walk.
They walk into the store.
Oh, to the store.
They would shop there.
Okay.
They would get lamps. They would get artwork. You walk in and they would say, "Hey, I need help with my living room."
Yeah.
And so then we'd have to give our spiels, and I was like, I charge $35 an hour, and somebody else was charging, $75.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say it ebbed and flowed. There were times where I didn't have people who were hiring me very often, but I was still, making very little money working out of the shop. So there was a benefit to that. But I'm now at a point where, I'm booking months and months out and totally changed my fee structure. So stick with it. It definitely has high seasons too.
Yeah. Okay. So did you find in the beginning, I think most designers charge hourly.
Yeah.
And then you find out that this isn't working out for me.
Yes.
I'm going to switch to a flat fee or something.
Right. Yes.
That works better.
So for over 13 years, I charged hourly.
Oh my gosh.
And I slowly increased my hour as, I was able to. Now I charge a flat fee, and I absolutely love it. No longer do I feel like when my clients see me, they just see dollar signs. And I don't have to have those awkward conversations of, okay, well, it's been 2 hours. You owe me this amount.
Yeah.
So that has been a positive adjustment.
That is actually something I really took with me from our initial coffee conversation, because I felt like I was battling that so much with clients. Like when they saw me, they're like, she's on money time. She's charging they weren't focused on the project or anything that we were doing. They were just seeing dollar signs.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, that is such a game changer to charge a flat fee, and you still cover your bases, but it's just so much easier on them and easier for you too. Yeah. How did you design your worth when you started? I am sure that there are clients that were like, I don't know if it's worth it to pay you that much.
Yeah. I think that's really hard. I think it's hard in a creative industry, right? And when you love what you do, it's hard to put a financial value to what you do. And early on, I heard somebody say, well, doctors don't negotiate, lawyers don't negotiate, accountants don't negotiate. Why would you be asked to negotiate your fees? You're in a profession. You do this for a living. Yeah. So no longer do I really have clients who negotiate or try to negotiate my fees. Early on, I definitely did. I definitely had people who were taking advantage of me. They wanted to get discounts, just use me for a discount here or there. And to be honest, early on, I let them use and abuse me. I needed the jobs, and I thought, well, if I can sell them items at the just above cost, then they'll use me. And I don't know if I would really advise somebody to change that. I mean, you have to start somewhere, but there is something to say about your worth. And not, I don't think you should discount yourself. I don't think you should discount product either, because that is how you pay your bills. And I think finding clients who understand that and respect that will respect you on so many other levels.
Yes, that's another thing I took away, the respect. If they're trying to negotiate with you, they don't have respect for what you do, the school that you went through, and everything.
That's right.
Did you get family and friends trying to get some free advice from you?
Great question. I have very supportive family. In fact, my parents really put up with me rearranging the house as a child. My parents were missionaries, so they had absolutely no money. So they never got to spend money on anything, but they would let me do whatever I want, which was really nice.
That's so fun.
And they always build me up and encourage me, and do to this day. Even I will say, my mom was up the other day. She lives in Central Illinois, several hours away, and she saw some pillows in my shop. She's like, oh, I really like those pillows. She's like, I'll pay you full price. I'd like to buy these pillows, and as a daughter, I want to just give things to her. Yeah. So I actually ended up just discounting them only 20% to my mom. But then she was like, hey, can I also get this room spray that you have? I love it. Again, I want to pay for it. But that, I was like, okay, Mom, I'm just going to give you the room spray. You will definitely have family members and I think friends asking for things. And I think the thing about that is I learned early on, I just couldn't offer free advice or discounts to friends because, one, again, it goes back to respect. And then who is your friend? Well, what if somebody's not your friend and then they work with you and then they become your friend? Then do you still continue to offer that friend discount? And then are people being your friend just because they want to use your services? It gets kind of sticky.
Yeah, and it takes time to give the advice. Like, there's so much we have to take into account. Like, does this paint look good in my house? Well, what are the things inside your house? You know, there's so many factors, and it's just not an easy advice. There's so many things we have to consider.
For sure. And I think, too, when you start giving that free advice, it goes back to the respect thing, but also I don't put the same effort into it. I mean, I want to say that I would, but then
it's just like,
yeah. Oh, yeah, sure, that looks good. Whereas you would hire me to really take the time and effort to go into like all you were saying. So that's definitely tricky and sticky. But again, it definitely keeps me from asking my friends who are doctors or lawyers for free advice too, because you want to respect the people that are in your community.
So when you first started, how did you slowly build that client list?
But early on, I would offer free design time to clients who referred me to other people, because people can be really funny about getting help, right? Like sometimes they want to take all the credit and they don't want to share that they worked with somebody professionally to make their house beautiful. But so you have to incentivize them to share your information. And so people love things that are free. And it is one thing that I would do. So I would say, hey, if you give me, so if you refer me, and I'm not asking you to hard sell. I'm saying if somebody's in your home and they're like, oh, this looks really pretty. All you have to do is say, hey, Sarah Coe did this. And, this is where you can find her. And I would give them, for everybody who called me and said, I was in so-and-so's house. It looks so great. I'd like to hire you. I would give the former client, an hour free design time. Does that make sense?
Okay, that makes sense. That's a nice, yeah.
So now that I've grown to this level, my time is more valuable than product right now. So instead of giving free design time for referrals, what I'm doing now is I'm giving my clients a shopping spree. So when they refer, I know, right? So when they refer and share, and that person hires us, because right now we are a minimum of $50,000. So if somebody's going to hire us, I know I'm going to make a good amount of money. I give my clients $1,000 shopping spree in my store. Isn't that fun?
That would, anyone would take it. Yeah, that is so creative.
Thank you.
I think that's so important, because I feel like, for me, sometimes clients are hesitant to share information because either they don't want to share the designer, or they want to make it seem like they did it.
Yeah, it's absolutely a thing.
Sticky situation.
Yes. We do have yard signs, so back to your point on signs. So that wasn't something I did when I was in Indianapolis, but since moving to the Chicagoland area, I came up with the idea to put a tasteful sign in the yard while we're doing the project, and we have gotten a lot of traffic, a lot of clients from that. So, just a thought.
Amazing. What do you do when someone asks for something you this is the bad route? Like, how do you get them on the same page as you?
Yeah, I think as a designer, it's really important to ask questions and then listen really well. So if somebody has bad taste or they have a bad idea, I usually try to ask them more questions. Tell me more about that, or what were you thinking? And maybe they saw something on television. They're just like, oh, or saw something at a friend's house, or maybe they just have this really wonky idea and they just need to express it. So I validate them to say, oh, that's a creative idea. But then I explain to them why it most likely is not a good decision. So I'm a very functional designer. I talk a lot about function. It doesn't matter how beautiful you make a room. If it's not functioning for you, it's useless. It's just pretty to look at. And so I talk to them about function, and I talked about investment. So if they want to paint, their walls purple and hang really god-awful wallpaper, or, I just say, it's great if it's for you, because everybody has different tastes. However, are you looking to sell your house in the next 5 years or so? Maybe that's not the best use of that creativity. Like, let's make it personal to you in a different way.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes we act as therapists.
Oh, 100%. Or marriage counselors.
Yeah, because the husband is like on one side and the wife is on the other side, and you're just like trying to find the middle ground.
Yes.
How do you turn down clients when you know they're not going to help you grow? Like, do you tell them like at the consultation when you get that gut feeling, or you just send them like an email?
Yeah, good question. So I vet all my clients. So we have a process right now. Even if you're my best friend, I have you fill out a questionnaire that we have online. That questionnaire immediately is going to tell me if they have the budget to do what our minimum is.
Yeah.
A lot of it is vetting them. After they fill out that questionnaire, I already know, like, are they quick decision maker? Are they flexible budget? I have a very specific questionnaire, and you're welcome to check it out on my website at sarahcoedesign.com. After they fill that out, I give them a call.
Yeah.
So they haven't, I haven't even met them yet, but I'm asking them questions. I'm looking for those red flags. And if I don't think they're a good fit, I'll just tell them. I said, you know what? Unfortunately, we're not a good fit for everybody. I want to make sure we don't waste your time, our time. There has been a few over 19 years. There's been a few really bad situations. One time a client tried to hire us, and there were red flags all over the place. And so I give them their money back, and I said this is just not going to work. And they left me a really bad Google review, but we never even worked together.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that was obviously a good aversion from a potentially really bad situation. And sometimes you don't know somebody is a bad fit until you get into the project. And those can be really complicated too.
Like, you don't see the signs early on, but you kind of slowly see them.
Or you ignore them because the project is so beautiful, or you're desperate, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So understanding, somebody once told me, or I read somewhere, you learn the most from your failures, and you really do. I mean, nobody really wants to fail, but everybody does, and you just have to pick yourself back up and go, okay, what can I do differently next time so I don't end up in the same situation?
Okay, true. I know. You got to learn from it. What is your take on interior design school? Do you recommend people going to school for that?
Yeah, great question. Right now in the industry, there's not really, you can call yourself an interior designer in many states without having schooling. So I got a bachelor's degree in fine arts and marketing, but then I went back and didn't get an associate's, a full associate's in interior design, but I did learn how to do CAD. Yeah. I learned how to do room planning. My art degree served me tremendously in, obviously, the interior design field, but I would say if you're thinking about it, absolutely 100% go back to school or go to school. When I was working for this interior art decorator in Indianapolis, her background was teaching, and she didn't have a degree in interior design. And I asked her that first year, I said, should I go back to school? And she was like, no, people don't really care if you have a degree. But I would say, if nothing else, you'll end up caring. It's kind of like, I should have gone to college. It's easiest to do usually earlier on when it's not so complicated with marriage and kids and life. But even if you are married or have kids, just do it. There's so many great programs. COD has a phenomenal interior design program. It's 2 years. I absolutely get some schooling.
Yeah, I always recommend that too, because there's just so many things. Like, when I first thought I was going to be, when I first initially was like, I'm going to be a designer, I took an interior design class in high school. Amazing. And they taught us, like, the different styles of, like, furniture and picking selections. But once I got to college, I was like, whoa, this is way deeper than I thought it was going to be. But, I mean, I still loved it. There's just so much to learn. And there's lots of different things. I mean, not everybody is going to be like me or you and own our own interior design business. There's people who need to just work for somebody. Yeah. There's some people who are really well suited just to be in a shop and do CAD all day. There's other people who really, really are drawn to commercial or very sustainable. I mean, there's so many different avenues you can take it in. And we need all those areas. What do you look for when you are hiring an interior designer? Yeah, so I've learned the hard way in some hires, but I would say I definitely look for attitude. You can teach skill, but you can't really teach attitude. A good work ethic. We work really, really hard. We have a lot of fun with our jobs, but we work really hard and fast-paced. And then I look for a proficiency in CAD. Yeah. So not that everybody is doing CAD all day long in my office, but even myself, I can get on CAD program. We use CAD in every single project, whether it's a kitchen, a bathroom, a living room. You have to be able to know if everything's going to fit. And some things that you think are going to look really great, you see the measurements and, the elevation dimension, you're like, whoa, that's way too big, or that's way too small. Yeah. So that's super helpful. do you look to see the type of school that they went to?
Yeah, we talk about it. So
Yeah.
currently I have a junior in college working for me right now, just this summer. And she's not getting like a true interior design degree. She's actually getting more of an architecture degree through Butler. But I really encouraged her, and she did it last year when we were talking, but she's taking some CAD classes. So I don't know that you have to go the traditional route, a 4-year interior design degree, because I know a lot of interior designers who aren't using their degree. They're doing something totally different. Yeah. And so I think you have to know, but you do kind of need to know what direction do I want to take, and, job shadow, be an interior designer. I have a lot of interior designers or school, like college-age kids who come and intern with me for free because they just learn so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, school can only teach you so much.
100%.
One of my other podcasts, we were just talking about all the stuff that school didn't teach us.
Yes.
And you just get the most working through someone.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest changes in the industry that you've seen since you started?
Yeah, I think I shared this when we met. When I first started 19 years ago, digital cameras were beginning to be a thing. Oh. I know. Some of you are like, what? So let alone cameras on our phones. I actually had a camera, and I would go and process the film after meeting on a job site, which just like blows my mind. Oh, so obviously technology, huge change. People they didn't see things. So you could explain something or show a fabric, and they'd be like, okay. And now, we have to do these amazing, beautiful renderings for people to trust us. And it's okay. There's value in that. But I would say technology 100% has been the biggest change.
Definitely. Because when I first started in college, a lot of people relied on like drafting or like drawing in 3D. And then when I graduated, I was like, oh, everything's like through AutoCAD or some other software. And it's crazy how much technology has advanced. How do you handle an artistic rut?
Yeah.
I can't think of anything.
That's a good question. I think I go a little bit deeper and a little bit soul-searching, and I ask myself, like, why am I having an artistic rut right now? And usually the reason is I'm burnout. I'm either burnout personally, like I just haven't taken time for myself to have margin, or I've been burnout by a bad client situation. And so understanding that helps me understand how to recover. So oftentimes you have to ask yourself, like, how do you get filled up? I get filled up in nature or being inspired in beautiful surroundings, but if it's outdoors or like going to a really gorgeous restaurant, just taking time for myself where I just recover, whether it's getting better exercise or sleep, then I feel like I have capacity to be creative again. But figuring out what it is that burns you out and then like recognizing those things before you get to that bad place is super helpful.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm just like, I need to take a step back. I'll look at this later and just go for a walk or something. Okay, so many of my subscribers are students, and they always have the same concern. If there's any money in becoming an interior designer, like, can you have a good career and have a good make passive income and being an interior designer? Like, they think that they're going to end up like on the street or something.
Yeah, and that was a big fear of mine before I even went into interior design. I didn't want to be a starving artist, right? You've got this creativity, and you can actually be a phenomenal interior designer and be poor because you don't know how to have a business head. So I would say read. I read a lot. Any Harvard Business Review books are phenomenal, and it doesn't have to be about our trade in interior design, but having a business head. The Business of Design is another good interior design book. It just talks about creating a business. So if you're not the one that's going to own your own business or be on your own, it's really not an issue. You just get a degree, go work for somebody who's writing you a check. But you can only be so successful in that regard. It took me many, many years to get to where I am today, but we're looking at, like, I might bypass my husband in earning income this year.
Oh, congrats.
I know, thank you. So it's really, really exciting. So absolutely there's money in it. You have to be able to work really, really hard. You have to be able to be smart. So another thing, like I think about my business as an onion. It's just a little layer at a time. And I never got over my skis. We've never taken on any debt related to the business. Yeah. So just starting out small and just, you don't have to have an amazing space to do amazing, beautiful things. For years, I just worked out of my home. And I just bought inexpensive ways of organizing things, so I'd really encourage people to start small. If you have to give away your design at the beginning just to get people to work with you, that's definitely something. You have to start somewhere, offer, but then also be creative and be willing to try new things. I got into some commercial design. I did restaurants, and everybody starts somewhere for the first time sometime, so it's okay,
Yeah, of course. What traits or qualities do you think has made you successful or come this way?
Well, obviously, I think especially as people who own their own businesses, I think I have a lot of drive. I kind of tease my family that I would do this even if I lived on, Masai Mara, Africa, somewhere. I would want to make things beautiful. I would want to create environments for people. So I think it's a God-given gift that we enjoy doing this, but I think it's a lot of drive and hard work. I think those are and then the resiliency. And that's hard, right? Because you are going to kick down. You are going to kind of feel like you don't want to do it some days, or you don't want to work with people, or you don't want to, do this thing anymore. But just being able to pick yourself back up and surrounding yourself with really positive community of people that encourage you, whether they're interior designers or not, but just can support you and love you well.
Yeah, I really think the main thing is having that drive and the passion to keep going.
Yeah.
Last question.
Yes.
Actually, no. Second to last question. Advice for those wanting to start their own interior design business. I think you kind of touched on it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Definitely figure out what you're good at, and then hire out the rest. Yeah. So I think I talked about this with you the other day, is the red light, yellow light, green light attitude. So what that basically means is that there are things in your life that are green lights. You can do them without eating, without sleeping. You want to do those all day long. And then there's things that are yellows for you, and you can do them for a little bit, and then you're like, I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. And then there's things that are red in your life, and you will do anything you can to avoid doing those things. Well, hiring people in or subcontracting those things out that are the reds in your life so that you can do more of the greens, and you can keep going and being motivated to continue on.
But you would say they would have to be making a good amount of money in order to hire those people.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
It's you start off and you're like, I'm not making any income.
Right, you have to start somewhere. Yeah. So maybe you do have a second job while you do interior design on the side, right? Maybe it's partnering with somebody. Maybe you do go work for somebody for a long, long time so you can build up the knowledge and the base, and then you go out on your own. I mean, I didn't start totally out on my own with no background. I worked for this woman for 4 years, 3 or 4 years before I was on my own, and the people who were contacting me after working with her were people I had met there, or they were referred to people. Yeah. So you got to build a clientele. Obviously, there's amazing ways to get out there now that are free, like Facebook and Instagram, connecting with local realtors and just letting them, know. I did a lot of home staging at the beginning, a lot of professional organizing at the beginning. Those are things that are just skills that I'm naturally good at, so it was easy to do those things. But now I don't offer those services because we've just moved beyond that. But just trying to diversify a little bit. Maybe you work at a furniture store and you do interior design on your own on the side. So does that make sense?
Yeah,
having supplemental income. Just try not to be a barista at Starbucks and do interior design. And not to say that you can't, but being in the field is going to help you. Work at a tile shop, work at a furniture store, but in your industry while you're trying to finish up school and build an income.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main things people are scared of is how am I going to be able to afford hiring this person or hiring out? I think what you gave is really good advice. Start small.
Yep.
make sure you have like another job where you can kind of support yourself, and then you slowly build it up.
And if you're really small and you're hiring a bookkeeper for an hour a week, you're not paying them that much, right? So just don't get ahead of yourself. Don't go renting expensive spaces. Like, don't spend more than you can afford. You know, just start slow, you know, if you can, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. I think so many people like, start like.
I have to have the website. I have to have the business cards. I have to have everything perfect. You don't. You just have to start.
That is the main thing. Just start. Lastly, if you weren't an interior designer, what other career path can you envision yourself doing?
Not only can I envision myself someday when I'm done with this, I definitely want to be a yoga instructor.
I can see you doing yoga. Like you already have like that vibe of like. Yeah.
Thank you. So I would love to be a yoga instructor, specifically on the beach somewhere. So I put in like an hour a day. People just come, like kind of maybe in a resort community. So yoga instructor, or I think too, I'd love to be doing what I'm doing now. I love sharing and maybe like business consulting. I love encouraging other people in the field.
I think you would do fantastic.
Oh, thank you, Sandra. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that is the end of the podcast. Thank you again, Sarah, for taking the time to be a part of this. I'm so honored to have you here. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this and took some valuable information and advice from Sarah. Remember to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next podcast episode. Bye.
Bye.